big fish got fried over the weekend. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the StayWeighedIn podcast. I'm joined by my man Ray. It's been a while. How you doing?
Been a set. Well, I was, took a nice city trip to Rotterdam and Amsterdam, and during that trip, I saw my guy get fish fried, man, and it pains me to do this episode, but here we are, man. How about yourself?
Same, man. I didn't take the trip, but I was sat at home and it was in pain watching that because, look, I had no fun saying what I did at the start, but guess we got to go into it straight away. Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, all the belts, all the marbles at 147 was on the line. And it was, I can't repeat what David Hay said one time, but it was as one-sided as whatever you want to say it can be. I kind of just want to go straight into the fight. The first round on commentary, they kind of alluded to the fact that they've just both feeling each other out. Terence Crawford starting slow. Errol Spence won that, but just based on the fact that there was a bit of activity. And then you get to probably, for me, the decisive moment. And second round, 30 seconds to go. Errol Spence gets dropped. Now, I can't make excuses because Errol Spence won't make excuses, but I want to hear your take on the shot that knocked him down. So the floor is yours on the shot that knocked him down. What did you make of it?
It was just a good flash knockdown. He caught him off balance, bam, and the quickness of it. And I was watching my boys, and I said the scary thing with Crawford was for every one punch that Spence threw, Crawford literally landed three. Not through three, he would land 3 punches over. Crawford will land 3 punches over Spence's one. And that's when I was just getting scared because I was just like, this is the second round. It was a flash knockdown, so I wasn't scared for Crawford getting hurt. But when I saw how he started, I said, and especially the type of finisher Crawford is, I said, Spencer's going to be in for a long night, man. And good Lord, what a night.
So this is what I'll say about it. It's a bit controversial. Again, I'm not making an excuse because Spence hasn't. But where he got hit, because as a boxer, you expect to get hit to the face. It's a bit different to getting hit to where he did.
Yeah.
And it reminded me when Wilder got hit by Fury and he was just discombobulated throughout the entire fight. The way he got hit, it was around there. And I feel like he may have got hit close to his ear. And when that hit, you were just discombobulated throughout the fight.
Yeah. I think what it was, though, is the speed of it, because it wasn't, you know what it was? Because it's like he'll catch him with a clean hook to the face, and then the following blows are the ones that might be like to the back of the ear or something, but it's only consequence of getting hit in the first place. So I can't say it like it's different. If it's like the first shot was always to the back of the ear, then that's another thing, but it's like it was a clean shot to the face, and by the time he's going down, Terence is so fast he can throw in another shot, and then sometimes he clipped the back of his ear, but that's just a consequence. And credit to Spence as well. What a professional. The guy's literally just told everyone, stop making excuses for me. The better man won. And what a heart of a champion. This guy, like there's many boxers that say, I'm willing to die in a ring. That was Spence, because this is a guy, I said, he's made of that old school material, because this guy was getting knocked down. If you look at his face, he was smiling. Even after the second and third one, he's had a smile on his face like, let's go. Like, he was ready. He was just like, let's go. He was getting dominated, and he still, even I remember when the ref stopped the fight, and you looked at Spence's face, and it was almost like he was just like, no, let me go out on my shield, which I'm very happy the ref stepped in. Some people who are crazy are like, you should have let Spence. No. Sometimes protect the fighter from themselves. That was a great time to protect the fighter from themselves. He wasn't going to come back from that. I'm sorry. There was too much damage done on him. He didn't look like he was going to get going. And Crawford was in kill mode. And, kudos to Crawford, especially after the performance Inoue had put in midweek. And a lot of people are saying Crawford has to really do something big if he wants to claim pound for pound. And my God, did Crawford rise to the occasion and said, Crawford rose up and said, I am number one. Get one thing straight.
one thing I want to talk about with Crawford, because in a nutshell, after the second round, it was basically a case of one-sided. You had Spence trying to come forward, but it was very rash. There wasn't a boxing side to this. It was just a case of he knew he was behind and he was
blood
just
and
trying
guts.
to do
That's pure blood and guts.
But Terence Crawford, one thing that really got me compared to this in this fight was the fact that when he would jab, it wasn't a jab where it was just sticking. It was sharp. It was snappy. It was hitting with power. And then I want to talk about his guard as well. It was always up. It was always high. You looked the way Spence was fighting, always vulnerable. Realistic, and it sounds bad to say, but was Spence not necessarily overmatched, but was he a bit too rash? And because I don't think Spence had been in this position in his career for a while.
Yeah.
So just react poorly to this. And then talk to me about Terence Crawford throughout the entire fight and how he was just, like I said, just breaking down Spence throughout.
I don't like, and what I've seen from, I'm not on socials too much, but what I've seen from a lot of like boxing socials, what I do like what they've done is we're not going to start acting like Spence was a has-been or Spence was past it. It was just a case of the better guy showed that he was better. That was it. Spence is still one of the best fighters in the world. Yes, he shouldn't be at a weight class, but credit to him. He said he wanted to show at greatness, and he said I can't progress in my career unless we make this fight happen, because that's how much of a competitor he is. And I just feel like Crawford, he told you lot who he was, and he went there and he proved who he was, and he said he's gonna catch the big fish, and he caught him.
He caught him. There's one thing that surprises me about Crawford, and which is, if you watch some of his press conferences, he kind of says, and he goes, I'm not going for the knockout, but if it happens, it happens. I've always looked at Crawford as, and it's because of his own personal attitude, where the knockouts actually get put to one side, because you don't realize that, like you said, 32 KOs, 40 and 0. You don't actually realize the amount of stoppages that Crawford has. Has he just got, because he doesn't have punching power, so what does he have that allows him to continuously get these stoppages? Because his last 5-6 fights in a row, all stoppages. They're not KOs, but they are all stoppages.
I think he's got power. It's not always like there's different types of power, because there's like Errol Spence, for example, I call it bludgeoning power.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
it's bludgeoning, like it never knocks you out, but it's just more, it will break you down as the fight goes on. Whereas Crawford is a spiteful finisher. So he's got enough power to do damage and shut you down, but it's the power that he has combined with the brilliant technique that he has. Brilliant technique, switch hits. I remember he was explaining, when people are just like, oh, why is his jab so good? He's actually naturally orthodox. But I think he mentioned one time that he injured his hand, so he learned to fight in southpaw. So when he's jabbing with his right hand, it's actually a stronger hand. So yes, the jab's going to be more powerful because that's his actual stronger hand rather than the lead hand, which is his left, normally in orthodox. And I feel like with Crawford, it's just like, this guy just knows how to finish. And I've heard this from a lot of top fighters when they say, always look for the win, never look for the finish. Just in the spots, in the way of like, if you force it, sometimes it doesn't come. And then you can gas yourself out trying to look for the finish too eagerly. And then there's other times where, like Crawford said, you just look to win. And if the opportunity to finish the person is there, you take it. And then it's just an elite mentality that Crawford had. And listen, man, pound for pound #1 for a reason. Midweek, we were saying, the monster, he's the guy. And I was even saying in some group chats, I said, with Canelo entering his twilight and not looking as strong as he has done in the past, which credit to Canelo for going this far, because this guy started professional boxing at 16. So the fact that he's in early 30s still going strong is amazing. But pound for pound, he hasn't looked as amazing. And Inoue has now stepped up, become undisputed, and then became unified, being Stephen Fulton. So then, like I said, midweek, where everyone was going on about the monster, I know so many people that's not even to boxing like that. they were like seeing the clips of it, like, right, who's this? Who's that? Like, who's this new guy? Well, he's not exactly new. He's four division champ now. And so obviously that's when people were just like, well, that's number one. And then I remember people were like a foregone conclusion, like, no matter what happens in Spence versus Crawford, Inoue is number one. And it's almost like, you see, Crawford is one of those people, do not bet with Crawford, because that is a serious competitor and he will rise to the occasion. And Crawford basically said, if you lot think this is going to be the number one guy by at the end of this week, you are bugging. And Crawford, my God, mom, there goes that man. Crawford went in there. He caught the big fish. He done it in devastating fashion. And like I said, credit, I can't give enough credit to Spence, because I think a lot of people don't also realize Spence had an avenue to quit. And what I mean by that is, by the third knockdown, he could have acted like he was more hurt than he did and not answered the call. This guy got up every time and was genuinely like, let's go back at it. I'm ready, even to his own detriment. But as a fighter, as a coach, you want that in a fighter, to let him, to know that he's got that dog in him. But there are times in life where having that dog in you can be dangerous. And that was one of those times. And I was very happy with the stoppage. I was even looking at the fight like, I hope they stop this earlier, because I forgot what round it was. There was a round when
the second knockdown where Crawford, I think, is leaning, gets him with the hook, drops him. I think it was 7th round. That was the one where I was like, that is your stoppage call. And then I was surprised that way.
Even I remember, I believe, if I'm correct, there was one round when the doctor even came to Spence and was just like, so you want to fight? But it wasn't even a case of like punishing blows. I think it was just like the rate that Crawford was landing on him. I think the ref was just not even the ref. The doctor was kind of just like, are you sure you're okay to go? Because this is too many clean punches that's landing on you. You can't keep on taking this many clean shots. And like I said, credit to Spence. He was always there on a thing of, let's keep going. I'm gonna go for it, even when it was looking bleak for him. So
I think
I'm still a fan of Man Down, AJ, Big Fish.
100%. Like I'll say this, that if you jump sides, it's not necessarily even jump sides, but if you jump off one guy when he loses against the pound for pound number one, like were you really on that side, or were you just?
It's not even if you're really on that side. That culture needs to die or get. There's always going to be those type of people. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be fickle people. There always will be. However, we need the majority of people, whether it's the majority of boxing fans or casuals, to realize if you keep on, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but if you keep on chastising people for losing at the highest level, then these fights won't happen, because then the boxers are going to be like, why am I going to ruin my marketability if I fight a top guy and I lose? Then you lot are going to say I'm a has-been, and that's all my opportunity's gone. Whereas you can give credit to Crawford without having to put Spence down.
Yeah, I always I give credit to both guys, but so this sounds not because I'm a fan, but I'll give credit to Spence a little bit more because his body was already ready to move up.
Oh,
he stayed for this, which is what I'm alluding to next quickly before we do. I want to touch on some fun stuff with the ring walk entrances and stuff. So going forward, Spencer's kind of said 154, I'm basically there. Crawford, during the fight, calls out Charlo. He's there laughing at him. In one side, in the other corner, you've got Ennis, who's at the IBF mandatory as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about both guys' paths. I think let's put Spence to one side because I want to talk about the rematch separately. Let's talk about Crawford's path. Do you see him moving up to 154? Do you see him possibly just shooting one more fight with Ennis? What would be the smartest thing for you? Because for me, I think he could take that Ennis fight and he'd beat Ennis because Ennis isn't ready for that. If anything, Ennis would probably prefer Crawford to vacate the belts. He gets the opportunity and he's all good. And then later on, because I don't think he's ready for that. But I want to hear your view. What do you see Crawford doing?
I think Ennis as a competitor will want the fight because he wants to be like, with all the attention on Bud, he wants that fight. However, I also don't think he's ready. I don't think it's not that Ennis isn't ready. It's just the fact that Bud is the best. So I can't see Ennis beating him. But I personally would want to see the Ennis fight only because the similar way that Lennox Lewis beat Vitaly Klitschko on his way out of the sport is the same way. It's like you beat the past generation, you beat the current generation, you beat the future generation. If you're really that great, that rarely happens. And I feel like part of me would like to see Crawford face Boots just to say the best of the new generation, I've beat them as well, and then move up to 154. And here's the issue as well, because Spence wants that fight. I want Spence to take a year, or after beating like that, I feel like you need to take at least half a year off just to let your body recover, let your brain recover, because that was a lot of bludgeoning shots that you took. And then, how I see it, if you really want that rematch, go win a belt at 154, let Crawford, well, this is where it gets complicated. Jermell Charlo, 154 undisputed champion. He's got a fight with Canelo coming up. I believe he's going to take that fight with Canelo, whatever the result is. Well, obviously, if he was to win the belt, he'll stay at super middleweight. But if he was to lose, I believe he goes to middleweight because his thing has always been Errol Spence is his stablemate. I'm not going to face
the brothers don't move fighting,
Exactly. So I think he would move to middleweight with his older brother, who that's a whole nother situation. Jermell Charlo is, I don't know what's going on with him, but I feel like Jermell will probably go to middleweight, start campaigning there. Then Errol Spence can go 154, get some belts there. I hope Errol can get some belts, and then Crawford can go get other belts, and then maybe you can have a rematch at 154, see if there's any difference. I do believe Errol Spence is in the twilight of his career, not because of this fight, but more because the damage done to his body over the years, just the wear and tear of boxing, the big accident of, the car crash. He has had a bit of a lifestyle before, even though he has changed it now, where it's like he used to drink quite a bit and, go put on a bit more weight than he should. But then again, it goes back to the whole thing of he knew he shouldn't have been 147 for a long time, but he wanted to be undisputed. So I respect the dedication to that. But I feel like with Spence, so much has been onto his body over the years that I don't think he has too much time left in the sport. So I would definitely like to see him fight at 154, get a belt at 154, God willing. And then if he faces Crawford, then both of them grab belts. That'll be brilliant. I still would favor Crawford after watching that, but it would be nice to see Spencer 2-division world champion. So that's how I would like to see it go.
I was going to say, Spence kind of basically said, he goes, I want the rematch in December. So he's kind of highlighting the fact that his next fight will be in December. But this is my point to you. If the fight is happening in December, does he still fight in December or not?
His team needs to save him from himself. I get why he wants to do it. And apparently it's because the rematch clause runs out past December, apparently. However, I still also feel like, in all honesty, if he was to go out to 154, I still feel like Crawford might say, do you know what, we can run that back. But yeah, but please, you don't need to fight for the rest of the year. After a fight like that, like, honestly, it will be better off just getting straight knocked out than constantly taking, getting dropped and getting up and getting dropped again. Like, that's the type of fight where a fight actually needs to take a lot of time off just to let the brain heal, let the body heal, because, that damage was excessive. And I'd rather not see Errol Spence come, and I'd want his team to step in and make sure he doesn't. Like I said, Errol's competitor, he's a champ, man down, big fish, put him in the dirt. He's still my guy, but I also know that he would want to come back, and his team needs to just stand firm and say, you are not coming back until, at least half a year. It reminds me of even like Usman versus Leon Edwards. And I like what Usman done at the time. After a knockout like that, Usman took his time and was just like, his team was just like, nah, you're not going to fight straight away after taking a shot like that.
The thing was with Usman, it's if anything, it's as similar as this because his next fight was again Leon, and we both sat here so confidently saying it's gonna end badly for him. In this case, kind of the only difference I will say is because he's gonna be able to fill himself out a bit more.
Yeah.
It might be a bit more competitive, and I still believe we will do. I don't think we're going to get the first fight personally, as we're doing the second one myself. I do want to just do on a light-hearted thing before I want to talk about Crawford's legacy or where he is. There are ring entrances. Crawford bringing out Eminem. What are we calling with this thing? Top 5 entrants all time? Because, I mean, look, bringing out Eminem, come on. It's a vibe. Crawford came, did his thing.
You know what's funny?
You know, Crawford's in here. He gets it. He's a prime athlete.
There is. I see what you did there, but there is a funny, like, at least in UFC, they call it a UFC curse where there's certain Eminem songs where it's just like, for whatever reason, fighters always lose using a certain. It might be Till I Collapse.
I think that is the one, you know.
Yeah, and it just always ends with a loss. So then I even remember when Crawford came out to Eminem, I was just like, Crawford, really? I'm not too superstitious, but at the same time, I was just like, I was a bit on edge, but listen, that's a bad man, and that's epic entrance, and it'll be remembered. And especially, he had the fishnet on him as well.
Yeah, he did
that was like the whole feeling of it, the whole look of it. Crawford was ready, and
Spence, for me, like I said, Matt staying on it. When I saw his face, it just looked skinny, if that makes sense.
A lot of people have said that. A lot of people feel like he didn't hydrate properly. And like we've been saying this whole time, credit to Spence, because throughout the whole time he's always said, no excuse. It is on me to win. If I don't win, I don't win. So 154, I want him to go there. I want him to get a belt. Maybe have 1 or 2 fights against decent guys, and then go there and get a belt at 154. Maybe within a year or so. But and here's the thing as well. He can also take his time, because until Jermell Charlo faces Canelo, and we find out what Jermell Charlo does, all them belts are still going to be held up. So for me, the best scenario is wait for Jermell Charlo. If Jermell Charlo then goes up and says, fake it, it's all the belts, then I'd say, all right, cool. Errol Spence, go up. He's a big enough name. Hopefully he'll be able to maybe have 1 or 2 fights and then get a belt at 154. I just don't want him to. I know he wants that revenge on Crawford. I hope it doesn't happen straight away. That's my only thing.
Now, just quickly, I want to touch on Crawford's legacy right now. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want to say this is I'm not putting him just boxing, but I'm just talking American boxers here. Because DC says something interesting before about him being the best American MMA fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you rank Terence Crawford in terms of American boxers? And 2, I might as well bring up the hypothetical to you. Let's go peak Floyd, 147 Floyd, even though that's not technically peak Floyd.
Yeah.
It's just Terence Crawford. Give me both answers. Where are we putting Crawford first in terms of all American boxers? And then give me the Floyd Crawford analogy. Where are we going with that?
When we say, because this is off the top of the head,
yeah,
I'll just have to say, of his generation, Crawford is the best.
Okay, yeah.
Point blank period. Of his generation, he is the best. All-time American boxers would have to go down to the whole categories and this, that, and the third, but he's an all-time great. He's an all-time great, point blank period. If someone wants to say Crawford is their best ever, you can't deny it. They've got a case to make there. As for him versus Floyd, the only reason I'll say I'd pick Crawford slightly is because peak Floyd, like you said, is 135, not 147. And I feel like Crawford is built different in a way that he's bigger than Floyd at that weight class. Even though Floyd did face people bigger than him, but to be significantly bigger and have the weight advantage as well, there gets to a certain point where you can only be so defensively sound. Because it's almost like the Canelo thing where, when Canelo punches people's arms sometimes, it's like, you can keep on doing your defense. I'm literally going to punch through your defense because I'm that heavy-handed. I feel like that's what Crawford might do to Mayweather, where it's just like, it won't be a beating. I don't think it will ever be a beating, but I would feel like Crawford could get a points win over Mayweather for sure. I won't say it's a definite win, but I'll say he would have just as good a chance to win for sure.
For me, I can't bet against Floyd. Like I didn't try it, but I was nearly convinced when he fought Canelo. But after that, I can't play against Floyd. So
That fight was. Here's the thing with Floyd, though.
Yeah.
Look, Floyd at 147, shall I say?
Mm.
His resume is good, but he also didn't face peak power the same way. This way it gets techie. Has Floyd at 147 got a win as good against someone as good as Errol Spence or Terence Crawford at 147 at a prime point of their career?
Manny was 147.
No, but even then, Manny weren't in his both. No. This is what I'm saying about 147. Yeah, for me, his time at 147, he wasn't at his peak either. It's just the fact that he's so good.
Yeah.
That people think he was at his peak. He wasn't at his peak. He was after the Ricky Hatton fight. You could call it his twilight, but he's just so ahead of the game that his twilight looks better than people's peaks. So then my thing is, during that time, is he beating Crawford? I don't know.
I hear it. I think that's one of them fantasy matches that I'd be down.
A big 50-50. I won't. In one of them fantasy matches, I don't think about it too much because it's just too hard to fathom what would happen. So all I can say is Crawford, when he said he's the best of his generation, he meant it, and he is. And I would love to see if he's gonna face Errol Spence again. Please let it be 154. And I would also like some time to go by so that Spence can heal up, get a belt, and make it a big unification, because especially on the business side of things, the fight wasn't competitive enough to be doing a rematch
straight away. However, I'll be honest with you, I'm still buying. Like, I bought this one.
Oh yeah. Oh no. This is the fight that people needed to buy.
Yeah.
For the people that complain about, oh, boxing, this is not what it used to be, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 no one fights the best. This was the fight where put your money where your mouth is. For the people that constantly talk about misfits not being boxing, for the people constantly talking about big fights ain't made no more, for the people who are waiting for, Tyson Fury to step up and be man enough to do the things that Spence and Crawford done, this is the fight that needs to happen. And now, I was even saying to people earlier on, what a week of boxing. This is like boxing history, and we don't even realize sometimes we're gonna look back and be like, Inoue and Crawford in that 1 week. Wow, what a time to be like, where was you when both of those fights happened?
Just quickly before we wrap up, you mentioned his name. We talked about pound for pound, how he delivered a performance, and then Crawford did top that performance. Yeah. Let's just stay on Inoue just quickly. 4-division world champion. People have likened it a little bit to Manny Pacquiao and what he was able to do in terms of moving up through the divisions. What are we looking at for Inoue's ceiling? Because he's 30 right now, potentially can continue to move forward in the divisions. Mm-hmm. What's Inoue's ceiling where we look and we're like, okay, he might be troubled at this particular place, because he's got, like you said with Terence Crawford, where he can beat you down. He beats you down, but he also beats you down with power that's visibly. He's got like that bludgeoning power and Spence.
Yeah.
Technique of Crawford, put them together. That's why he's the monster. So yeah, talking about Inoue and what his ceiling is in terms of where we can see him going.
I feel like Inoue, what he said is, well, right now, good for him. He said that he's gonna stay at his weight class. So he's got undisputed on the way, obviously. And then with the undisputed on the way, he now can get undisputed at a second weight class, which would be, this is super bantam, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll be at super bantam. He said by the end of the year, he's looking. So end of the year, he might be undisputed, which will be ironic because I believe it will be a year on from when he became bantamweight undisputed. So I believe he could do that. And then he said he wants to stay at his weight class for a bit. but I also feel like he could move up and go to featherweight if he really wanted to. So if he goes to featherweight, then scary settings.
It's painful out there for everybody who's jumping.
Very, very scary settings. Wait, I'm trying to think. Wait. Yeah, this fight was at super bantamweight. Yeah, because he just won the bantamweight.
And there's 126, 130, 135, yeah.
There's one, no, because he's just one. He was at 118.
Yeah, this is 122. It's featherweight 126. There's 130.
So that means, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So either way, he could go up another weight class if he wants to. He might stay at this one just for a bit and then go up. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I would love to see how far he goes up. Maybe 1 or 2 divisions max. Don't push it too far. But the way he looked to get Stephen Fulton, who's a serious operator, another situation where serious operator, all credit to him, because this guy had shown before that he'd beaten championship caliber guys and was great in his own right. So, you know, shout out to Inoue on that. The monster really showed his namesake.
And with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode of the StayWeighedIn podcast. I just want to say, just from me, like when you look back on the first half of boxing, you can't really have asked for more. The second half of boxing, unfortunately, we're not going. Well, we're waiting till December because apparently the whole idea is something big will happen at the end of the year. Whether that happens or not, it is what it is.
I am only waiting for Inoue. If you're talking about heavyweight boxing, I do not care. Until Usyk faces Fury and Fury stops with the antics, I do not care about the division. And I've told people this. I said, I don't care about anyone else in that division. Usyk, because I also want to see, can Usyk now see what his pound for pound mates have done? Because if Usyk then becomes heavyweight champ, because I think the top three pound for pound right now is in no order. Well, I'm telling you, like, this is my order: Crawford, Inoue, Usyk.
I can give you that. But it pains me when I see Canelo drop further than 3.
But he had his time, man. Listen, Canelo had his time. There's no need to feel sorry for him. He's still a great in his own right. He still made history. He's still one of the baddest, one of the most well paid. Canelo is doing fine. It'll be all right.
I'm going to say something a bit controversial to finish up on this, but I think this is like the best era of boxing we have seen for a very long time.
Oh, agreed.
Oh, okay, that sounds controversial. I thought that.
No. In terms of like the bigger fights, there's now after obviously people speak about the Mayweather era where everyone started avoiding each other because they didn't want their O's to go, and now you're seeing a lot more fighters that are just like,
let's go, let's do this.
Everyone gets paid, and if the O goes, just carry on fighting. So credit to Spence and Fulton, credit to Crawford and Inoue for being elite.
That's like the best way to wrap up. So everyone keep fighting. We'll continue reviewing. And you guys, if you are still watching, like, share, subscribe, and drop us your comments below. Give us your reactions to Crawford and Spence, Inoue, Fulton, and who's your pound for pound number 1 right now. But as always, guys, appreciate you, Ray, for jumping on. Guys,
as always.